Phil's watching tonight, and he claims that he and Alex are the #1 broadcasting team in the NSL. We love you guys.
I mean, they say they're really good. And
they are good.
They're #1, baby.
I hear no lies.
Number
Where
one.
lies?
No. Thanks for the plug, boys. We love Eric and Nick, most definitely. But the #1, yet to be seen. Yet to be so many good broadcasting crews, Phil. None can match the wonderful aerodynamic qualities of the two hosts here, though. What's going on, everybody? This is MASL Monday. Alex Bastyovansky, Phil Lavanco. We are so happy to be back once again, bringing you all the coverage from the MASL this season. And we're pumped. First of all, Phil, how was your off season? Does that exist for you? But how did things go?
No, it was busy. It was really busy. I'm here down in New York City. I spent most of my summer down in New York. Could be worse. Watched way too much Mets. That was probably the worst part. But, it's a good summer. How about yours?
Well, we have my Blue Jays. We had my Blue Jays. I'm not going to lie, dude. It still hurts.
Yeah.
It still hurts. I felt that we were a better team in the sense of the way that they played together. There's no question that we don't have the talent. We can't match the talent of the Dodgers. And I got a ton of respect. Honestly, I know a lot of people do not like the Dodgers. I like the Dodgers organization. I have for a long time. But that hurt. It hurt. So many chances to win it. Just too many errors. Base running errors, and it came back to bite us. But you know what? We made it there. I'm licking my wounds still. But the good news is that I have Major Arena Soccer League to help me recover and get my spirits up once again. It's going to be a fantastic season, Phil. Really quick, we've got 8 teams this year. There will be no 4-peat. Chihuahua, not back in the league this season, but you and I have talked about this, what it's going to be like. It makes you think of the pandemic season when there were much fewer teams playing, and the level of play, it was so many star players condensed on fewer teams, and the level of play was off the charts. And I think that's the way it's going to be this year.
So only 8 teams, balanced schedule this year. The schedule is much more balanced. And I think we're going to see just an absolute gauntlet, a tug of war between these teams to really make the playoffs. Now, the playoff system's a little forgiving. 6 teams get into the playoffs out of the 8, so you can have a couple slip-ups here and there. But, man, it's going to be an exciting season. We're going to see teams play each other multiple times. Hopefully that leads to more rivalries and more just absolute chaos on the field.
A great season. I'm pumped. You're pumped. And we've got to talk about, of course, the opening weekend, which went down. And let's start with Empire and San Diego. The Strykers looking to make their mark this season. The little brothers to the Sockers in California. It seemed like, forever. They want to make that breakthrough this season. And you know what? Opening night, they pulled it off against the Sockers. Great game, overtime. Phil, take us through it. What went down?
Great game, great crowd in San Diego. It was the second game of our Black Friday special on CBS Golazo. And, in watching that game, I thought reigning coach of the year, Coach Obasi, kind of got the better of Phil Salvaggio and the Sockers. He had a game plan going into the game, and they stuck to it. They possessed the ball the whole time. We know about the firepower on the Sockers, right? Craig Childs, Nick Pereira. They dressed 4 forwards in that game. I don't think it sort of was very balanced, that soccer team. Only 3 defensemen because of injury. But I'm going to be honest with you, Alex. Sockers couldn't run with Empire the entire time. So kudos to the Strykers. It was a phenomenal victory for them in their first game of the season. Back to the drawing board, I think, for the Sockers.
Love that backheel goal, by the way. There were some beauties in this game for sure. And I loved the overtime goal. We saw Orozco do that last year, a goalkeeper for Empire, of course, because that's how they play. They just got everyone up on the field. Obasi's got them playing that system where they're just pressing all the time. And we saw him score an OT goal last year. And it looked like at first it was him who got the overtime goal, which we'll get to in a second here, as the winner. But of course it went in off Alami's head. But just what a great finish to an opening game.
And let's talk about Alami for a half a second. He could have been the newcomer of the year last year. He had a phenomenal year for Empire, right? Chad Porch ended up winning, but I think Alami could have won the award as well. Continued that form to this season. What a find for the Strikers.
Here's here's the goal. Orozco with that just hammers that kick towards the net. And the first, the guys thought that it was Orozco's goal, but look at this, just grazes the head here as they go in. That's just, I love it from Empire, getting off on the right foot. They big expectations this season. They returned some really important guys, including, they got Fabian, they got possible MVP candidate and Justin Stinson. And they start off well. So love seeing that from
a
them.
great win from the coach too. Halftime interview with Craig Elston and Obasi talked about how the system has to evolve. And I love they coined it Obasi ball. We're going to steal that, obviously, because the whole league's going to steal that term. But coach was sort of, I guess, humble enough is the best word to admit that it has to evolve, right? And it did, and it paid off to perfection. It was a great win for Empire on opening night.
It was, and then we got to go to the Battle of Missouri, of course. KC and St. Louis played a home and home this weekend. Unfortunately, it was sort of a lot of the same that we've seen from these two teams in the past. Unfortunate for St. Louis anyway, as KC takes both games 7-3 on opening night, 8-3 the next day, back in KC. St. Louis hung with them the opening night, though. It was a fantastic game, Phil, but just couldn't squeeze out the win at the end. But it was a great opener, though.
You know what? I'm going to sit here and tell you that Ambush fans and probably Ambush to a man themselves thought they had a chance to win this one. It was back and forth in that first half. Philip Ejimadu really stood on his head, made a bunch of key saves to keep Kansas City in it as, they were kind of grinding through the gears in that first quarter, and the first half, really. And then the goal line clearances, we're going to see it in this highlight pack as well. A lot of saves off the line from the Comets. You know how much I love blocks as a stat.
Yep.
And by that, I don't, right? I don't think it's a real one. However,
we go back and forth about this every year.
Yep. And every year, I feel like I'm right. This highlight pack will convince you, though, that I'm a little bit foolish because multiple goal line clearances, especially in that third quarter when the game was hanging in the balance before the Comets eventually took over.
Next time we have a goalie on the show, let's ask them how they feel about the blocks, if they're overrated or not.
Sure.
Get a firsthand account of that, because my guess is obviously they absolutely love it in front of them. I mean, your Berto Palmers and Titsani had a ton of blocks this weekend as well. And obviously Chad Vandegrift. There's a reason why these guys are winning defender of the year, right? They're so important. And then, we don't need to see the second game. It was Casey taking care of things, taking them
less
competitive
game.
Less competitive game.
Yeah.
But and we've still got so much to cover. We've got Joseph Reina, our general MASL know-it-all, coming on for the next couple segments.
He's got spreadsheets and stats.
It's Mr. Spreadsheet, absolutely. More MASL Monday coming back. Welcome back to MASL Monday, everybody. It's Alex Bastyovansky, it's Phil Lavanco, and our good friend Joseph Reina joining us for the first time this season, who, of course, writes Around the League with Joseph Reina, and he's our general, as I mentioned before, know-it-all when it comes to the MASL, statistician, historian, you name it.
Yeah. Now scenario modeling that he's doing in his previews.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph, in case people don't know about what it is that you've been doing for the league, tell us about Around the League, and also the great column that you wrote to start the season as well.
Yeah, so I do Around the League, which is a weekly recapped blog, and I like to introduce a lot of the statistical analysis that I keep track of. So using stats from the league's website, so goals, blocks, shots, all that sort of stuff, try to manipulate that data and turn it into usable analytics. So a couple of the ones that I like to use are goals per shot, which tracks efficiency, both offensive and defensive. And then I've introduced a couple new stats for this year, one of which is named after a fellow mustachioed indoor soccer friend. But Andrew Hoxie is who it's named after. But the Hoxie statistic. Yes,
Joseph, your must listen. With all due respect, yours looks very nice. Nobody can match Andrew.
No, absolutely not. No.
I mean, it's just a thing of I've never seen anything like it in my life. And my dad had a pretty good stash back in the 70s. But yeah, anyway, respect for yours too. I just had to point out in case anyone didn't know who Andrew was. how could they not? But it's all about the stash.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But Hoxie is basically indoor soccer's form of, if you're familiar with hockey, Corsi, which is just shot differential. So I took that from last season, took all the games that we tracked and added up Hoxie scores, Hoxie totals, points over the course of the season. So if a team outshot their opponent, they got, points for that. And teams that won those games got points, and teams that would have won those games got Hoxie points, and so on and so forth. And then a couple others using expected goal models, which are very different from outdoor soccer. So we've got Kelvin, which is another one that I named after the very famous Brazilian from up in Utica, Kelvin Oliveira, which is overperformance in front of goal. So if you take a lot of shots, but you score a lot of goals, you probably are going to finish high in Kelvin. And so it's a good way of kind of understanding what's going on. I like to think of Hoxie as understanding everything that goes on before a shot, and Kelvin as everything that happens after the ball leaves their foot or their head, which just kind of helps us, point a flashlight in the dark as we're trying to understand this beautiful, chaotic sport that we love.
It is chaotic, isn't it? And well, these are going to be some chaotic predictions. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do season predictions, the three prognosticators here. And so let's start off with, gentlemen, your favorites to win the Ron Newman Cup this season. So Phil, we'll start with you. Sure.
Yeah, and I think Joseph and I are going to agree that the two teams that are sort of the favorites in the top tier to win the Ron Newman Cup are the San Diego Sockers and the Kansas City Comets. Now, I'll sit here, I'll stump for the Comets a little bit more than the Sockers. And the reason being, I just think that they're a balanced team. I think they're much more balanced than the Sockers. We talked about it a little bit in our first segment, and we sort of saw that stuff play out in the first game, right? Too many mouths to feed on offense, a little bit shallow depth on defense, and the goaltender situation. You can't just split games 30-30. I love that they know that they do it in San Diego all the time. This is not the first time they do it, but it just I don't think the balance is right in San Diego. So for that, I have Kansas City over San Diego in my top tier.
All right, Joseph.
Yeah, I'm going to go San Diego. For me, I think they're too good to not, be the favorites. And so I'll actually fight against your two goalkeeper argument. I mean, we saw with Chihuahua last season, they were able to use it to their advantage. And, in specific examples, if one goalkeeper isn't playing very well in the first half, boom, you just pull them. You don't let them, kind of have that Peyton Manning effect where they just keep throwing interceptions, right? You pull them and you let them get off the field and let the other one take over. And Chris Toth is an incredible goalkeeper. Boris Pardo is an incredible goalkeeper. So I have all the faith in the world that they're going to be able to, right the ship. Let's not forget, last year they lost their first game against Tacoma as well.
Yes.
That was on the road, but this one was at home. I don't want to read too much into it. You got to look at these things probabilistically. So I think going on, it's a long season. They're going to be good. I think they're still my favorites.
I can't disagree on those two. I mean, on paper, absolutely. Those two teams, I think for most people are going to be favorites. Phil, you mentioned when I had you on MASL and 5 talking about, and you thought one problem might be trying to slot all those pieces in on San Diego. And I think we're gonna see those growing pains as we did on Friday, starting thing out. But adding Nick Pereira and Chris Toth to an already star-studded team. I mean, Chihuahua had a star-studded team last year. They made the pieces fit. I think it will, but don't discount also. I think Milwaukee. What we saw from Milwaukee last year, they came so close to knocking off Chihuahua. I mean, that would have been fascinating on its own. Of course, it was funny watching the game in neutral San Diego. All the Sockers fans who were in the stands, everyone, of course, cheering for Milwaukee to knock them off because that would have been such a massive upset. But, plus Alex Sanchez, we're going to get into all these guys later, but, Bennett returning, they're going to be a good team as well. So I'm interested in seeing that. Okay, we got to move along here, guys. Team that will surprise. How about if we each give about 30 seconds kind of on each one and why? So Phil, who could surprise for you, do you think?
You just talked about it, Milwaukee, so I'll keep it shorter. A lot of turnover with the new coach. I think it's going to take a little bit of time to learn that system, but when they do, they're going to start humming. So my team of surprise will be the Milwaukee Wave.
Okay, Joseph, how about you?
So I'm a little biased. I just got to spend the weekend with the Kansas City Comets in the Ambush, and I was really impressed by the talent level that the Ambush bring. They ended last season so strong. I think they were a little bit hard done by with the schedule to start this year, but we could see a little bit of a situation similar to last year where they don't start as well to start the season and then come into it towards the end. So I think they're going to be a really, really dangerous team come March, April, potentially.
Interesting. Okay. You know what? I've said Empire, and maybe that's not too much of a surprise to people, but with the way Obasi, his system, the way they're playing, they still seem to be befuddling teams, and, you got a MVP candidate in Justin Stinson. You've got Fabian who can do what Fabian does, Orozco between the posts. For my money, they're the most entertaining team to watch in the league. I love watching them play. Again, why might them not be a surprise? It's because maybe for some people, that's not much of a surprise to say that I think that Empire will do well. But Phil, you made a comment as well on MASL and 5. They've been sort of the little brothers to, San Diego and California for the longest time. And maybe it's time for them to step out of the shadow. So I'm excited to see what Empire can do this season. So let's move to then team that you think might disappoint this season. And Phil, kick it off.
It's my hometown team, the Utica. They lost so much talent. I want to talk to Utica fans for half a second. I don't think Kelvin's coming back. Right? That's just my opinion on the matter.
It does make me sad. I'm not going to lie.
I know they're holding out hope, but listen, we're friends here, right? We can talk. I wouldn't
just
expect
between you and me, yeah.
So they've lost a lot of goals, right? They've lost a lot of goals on that team, and I don't think the roster is currently constituted will sort of, make up the difference in the goals that they've lost in the off season, right? On top of that, they've lost a veteran presence in the locker room with Andrew Coughlin and Nate Bordeaux retiring, right? So now we've got a leadership vacuum and we have a goal vacuum, and that is not a recipe for success.
Yeah. Joseph, how about you?
I'm going to go with Empire. I know you're speaking highly of them, and I think they play a really exciting brand of indoor soccer. It's different from anything else we've ever seen, but
it's boom or bust, huh? It's boom or bust, Joseph. It's like boom or bust. There's the opportunity for so much to go wrong, right? So I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes. And I think looking at some of the stats from last season, if I can use that Hoxie stat for a second, Empire actually finished the season with the same amount of Hoxie points as Chihuahua, and they almost didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think from that perspective specifically, they're going to be disappointing based on their own performances, using their own performances as that benchmark. I don't think they're going to live up to how well they probably could finish.
Right. Okay. And really quick about Kelvin, Phil, that is, I'm not joking when I do this, because he was the most electrifying player in the league last year when he played. Just unbelievable. What a talent he was. But so it would be unfortunate. I'm crying along with the Utica fans if he doesn't come back, but they will disappoint, and I really pumped Tacoma's tires last year, especially when they knocked off San Diego in that first game. I want to see Tacoma do well. They're just an old school MASL team going all the way back, so much success. But I think that I don't know if there are high expectations for Tacoma, so I don't know how disappointing it could be, but I don't foresee a great season. I just think, you take away Nick Pereira, who's just their all-time great, and Chris Toth, former MASL Goalkeeper of the Year. It's just so much to lose for that team. They do have a bunch of really great guys there, but with the arms race this year in this league about how condensed everything is with the talent, I think they're going to be in tough, but prove me wrong, because God knows I was wrong enough times last year. So,
and their schedule always stinks, right? And that's not getting any better from sheer geography.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to cover Team of the Week and also more predictions. So stay with us. More MASL Monday returning in just a moment. Welcome back to MASL Monday, folks. Alex Bastyovansky, Phil Lavanco, and our special guest, Joseph Reina, as we kick off our first episode of the year here. It's our final segment. So we're going to do a couple things. We're going to get to some more predictions in a second, player predictions. But first, Dr. Phil, has come up with we're going to do a weekly thing here. What Phil puts up is MASL Monday team of the week. He wants the heat. He wants the abuse. So everyone's got to let us know what you think of what Phil's about to put up here. This is his choice. And Phil, why did you decide to start doing an MASL Monday team of the week? Because
I'm tired of listening to the voters, right? I wanted my own award. I wanted something that I could take all the heat. So I watch all the games, and this is my MASL team of the week. At back, we've got Tetsane and Berto Palmer, both who had excellent games on the weekend. Philip Edjumadu in goal. That's my defense for the team of the week. Christian Andreas and Manir Olami for my second forwards and midfielders. Both of them had excellent weekends. Andreas had 4 goals, and Olami had the game-winning goal for the Empire. I believe he had another one in there as well. And then up top, my target is Rayon Marquez. That is the official MASL team of the week. Give it to me.
Joseph, you know who he could have possibly thrown up there as well?
Yes.
Or instead of Zach Reggett.
No, Zach Reggett is it's kind of diabolical.
No Zach Reggett. Yeah.
That's
but
crazy.
I mean, yeah. Phil, what's your standing by your decision and why is that?
Marquez was unfortunately suspended for the first game of the season, but when he came back at home against Kansas City, he absolutely balled out. One of the goals of the season already with that give and go was absolutely unplayable. So yes, listen, Zach, there are more weeks for you to make the MASL Monday team of the week. Unfortunately, you have to talk to your teammate about this one. I didn't do this. Rayon did this. This isn't me.
Rayon, don't play so good next time, right? Come on.
Yeah.
Help me out. Tetsane, 10 blocks, by the way. So tough to argue that. Chad Vandegrift not on that list. Chad had 8 blocks.
Again, you got to talk to your teammates.
Phil's favorite stat. Here we go again, right?
You got to talk to your teammates. It's not, I watch the games, I make the decisions. It's back and forth here,
Okay. Well, we'll see what the fan reaction is to Phil's list. I can't argue with much of that list, though. It's a good opening week list.
Boris Pardo might have made it too. He had a great first half.
Yeah, I agree. Watching him and Toth together is going to be fascinating. That is a former goalkeeper myself. As much as you don't like to get, have to split time with anybody, having 2 keepers of that caliber. I mean, if one gets injured, you've got another all-star coming in to replace him. I agree with Joseph on that, Phil. It's going to be a huge advantage for San Diego. But let's do season player predictions here, guys. So let's start off with maybe one favorite and one dark horse for each of the awards here. So defender of the year, and we'll just go in the circle here again. So Phil, how about you?
So I have the same favorites as you. So I'll just go very quick here. Chad Vandegrift and Berto Palmer, for me, are the top 2 defenders in the league. Both had excellent weekends and will continue their fine form here. My dark horses, it's not even a dark horse, a little bit of a cop-out, is watch those San Diego defenders, Serta and Mitchell Cardenas. I mean, that defense, they're built on defense, believe it or not. And so those guys will be in the mix as well.
Sure. How about you, Joseph?
Yeah, I think Berto Palmer is my favorite from last season when I was looking at defensive impact added. So not just blocks, but also how many goals are they contributing on the offensive end? So goals and assists. Berto's doing great stuff, both sides of the ball. No disrespect to any of the guys who aren't being mentioned, but I really, really like Chad Porch as well. I think if he can add that defensive side, add a couple more blocks per game, I really think he could contest for that just with how good he is on the attacking side.
Yeah. Okay. So Phil and I picked the same. I sort of picked Vandegrift as my front runner and Palmer as, you can't even really say dark horse because, these guys are there every year. Right. But and then, okay. How about goalkeeper of the year? Phil, start with you.
So I think we all have the favorite there, Philip Edjumadu. The San Diego situation will split the votes, right? So I think Edjumadu there is the favorite. My dark horse is Julian Rodriguez in Baltimore. Took the number 1 job last year, 10-4-1 last season for the Blast. He's got the number 1 shirt this year. And we all think Baltimore is poised to have a great season too. Futsal background, great with his feet. So watch out for Julian in Baltimore.
Okay. How about you, Joseph?
Yeah, no arguments with Edjumadu. I think for him specifically, he's got that perfect combination of the Comets give up a lot of shots. Now they block a lot of shots, but they also force a lot of saves from their goalkeepers. So I think he's got that, going for him in that respect. But then he's also really, really good in the attacking end as well. So he'll add an assist. He's already got one so far this season. But for my dark horses, it's tough to pick just one, but I really like Paulo. I think he's got a good shout, especially if the ambush is making that playoff push towards the end of the season. He's going to be a really important voice in that locker room. And then I'll go Brian Orozco, just because he is such a unicorn in this league that, we saw it against San Diego. He cannot be ignored. So for that specific reason, I think you can't not include him in that conversation.
Yeah. It's interesting that we all picked Ejimadu, top 3 last year in goals against average, save percentage, and wins. So, we've already talked about him, but I've also got, all the guys that you've named, but nobody's mentioned Ben Haney yet. Willie B from Milwaukee, who stalwart between the posts. And we barely talked about Baltimore on this show now too, which is kind of shocking to me when you talk about we talk about Porch, we talk about goaltending, but I just got to throw in there. I think please let's not discount Baltimore as well. Of course, their home floor advantage, what they've got is what Chihuahua had, and so we can't discount Baltimore the season they're going to have, as I backtrack on previous comments. But so I would say dark horse for me would be Willie B in there. And coach of the year, gentlemen, Phil.
Alex, you read the rundown. We're going to talk about Baltimore right now. I think the favorite's Dave Bascombe in Baltimore, right? I think he's done yeoman work. They're reshaping that roster. Last year, they made the leap back to sort of title contender, and this year they're only going to keep going forward, right? So to me, he's the favorite, and my dark horse is the new coach in Milwaukee, Marcio Lette. Now, Coach Obasi last year, right, started off, right, with a little bit of struggle as the system was being implemented. I see the same thing happening in Milwaukee. It's going to take a second, but if they can start getting it humming, Milwaukee will start sort of seeing that success, and I think he's going to have a good shot to win the Coach of the Year award.
Okay, Joseph, how about you?
Yeah, I've gotten the opportunity to talk to Coach Stokic a lot in the last 2 years, and I've just been so impressed with him, especially tactically. But some of the other aspects that I think we don't talk enough about are the good youth development. He's constantly getting these young kids on the field and doing so well just every single time. It feels like they get somebody in there, it's making their debut, and they'll get a goal, they'll make a huge block or something. And so I think that's something that cannot be underrated or just completely discounted from him. They've got lofty goals as well. I think also almost guaranteed improvement from where they went last season. So that's always helpful in this regard as well. For my dark horse, I did go with Bascombe. I think he's also just tactically fantastic. And I think one of the things that he's got going for him that not a lot of coaches have, at least not in the league at this moment, is an in-game adjustment. He loves to see how things are going in the first half, go into the locker room, make some big changes, and come out firing in the second half. So especially watch him as the team gets into that second half of the season. I think he could be a really talented force in the locker room.
I picked Stokic actually as well. Number one, clearly I love the haircut, but secondly, just for all the reasons you mentioned, Joseph, he's got to get a lot of guys in Kansas City, a lot of great talents to come together. I'm fascinated to see what he can do with Dom Francis there. By the way, Phil and I have talked about on MASL in 5 how excited we are to see Dom Francis. Nothing against Harrisburg, but for years, we got a taste of it during the pandemic season when Dom Francis got to play with Kansas City. And I'm thrilled to see what he's going to be able to do playing with other all-stars there. I think we could see Francis could be a dark horse for MVP, guys. In all seriousness, Casey's got so many weapons, but I'm thrilled for the boy from Huddersfield, England, to see what he's going to do. But anyway, so Stokic to me is my main pick, but Obasi, if Empire really goes on a run this season and there's a method to the madness and we see them stay up near the top of the standings, we could see him win his second consecutive. Last year he was a rookie coach, for crying out loud, who came in guns a-blazing and you never know. He could pull the same thing off again. Salvaggio is going to be interesting, Phil. I think if San Diego goes just on a massive run like they did a few years ago, where they go, well, they've already lost one, but just go on a huge run, and he's able to get all those pieces to work together, he should get consideration. Just because he's got a team of all-stars doesn't mean that he shouldn't get consideration, because it takes a lot to be able to have all those pieces fit together, right? When you've got so many different options. So anyway, and MVP, gentlemen, Phil, start with you.
So we're all going to have the same favorites here. I'll just list them real quick. Zach Reggett, Alex Sanchez, right? But Joseph, I took your Defender of the Year dark horse and made him my MVP dark horse because I think he's nominally a defender, right? He doesn't do a lot of defending, Chad Porch in Baltimore. He is all over the field, and I think he can have a big impact for the Blast this year. So he doesn't get tethered to the back like most so-called defenders, right? So if he finds his way up in the scoring charts, I see no reason why he won't get MVP votes.
Okay, how about you, Joseph?
Yeah, I really like that three-headed shark they've got in Kansas City. I think with Dom, with Rion, they've got some talented players alongside, but Zach Reggett, to me, he had an MVP caliber season 2 years ago. Last season was a little bit injury-ridden. This year, as long as he can stay healthy, for me, I think he's the front runner, and he's really comfortable being the focal point with another group of really talented guys. We saw it this weekend against St. Louis. We're going to see it again in the future. I promise you that. For dark horse, and I don't feel comfortable saying dark horse with this guy, Sanchez he's so good. Watching him play, I'm fortunate that I'm based in Milwaukee and I get to see him on a weekly basis. The guy's just ridiculous, honestly. Like his ability to shoot from distance and like specifically finding shots from distance for me is such an insane skill that he's got at such a young age. Only his fourth season in the league now. So I think if he can stay healthy as well, that's the biggest thing for me is being able to stay healthy, because this conversation is completely different now versus in March. If we see, some guys have missed 8 to 10 games.
Right. Well, that's my favorite. Your dark horse is my favorite. I picked Sanchez. Just watching him in last year in Milwaukee was just phenomenal. He finished second in the league with 48 points. First team All-Star. So excited to see what he can do. And my dark horse pick is Stinson, who was sixth with 43 points last season, and I just feel like he's going to get a boatload this year. And so, listen, there's obviously so much talent in this league, guys. We're not even touching on so many other guys. I mean, San Diego's got a boatload just on that team alone. But that's sort of a killer for San Diego, isn't it? They've got all of these players. I feel like that's why you don't see Boris Pardo winning goaltender of the year all the time, or Childs maybe getting MVP, which if you ask a lot of people who's most valuable to their team, man, it's tough to argue with the Craig Childs, but there's just so much talent on that team. I feel like some of the guys actually get overlooked when it comes to award season because we look at teams that may not have as much depth as San Diego, right? But anyway, those are my picks.
He might make an MASL team of the week, though. MASL Monday team of the week.
He might. You never know. That's really
more
the
prestigious. More
that's,
prestigious.
That's the award that all the players are pining for this year.
I think so.
MASL Monday.
I think so.
Team of the week, right? So we'll have to ask them on that and get an opinion too. But that's it, boys. We are way out of time here. So listen, Joseph, thanks so much. Obviously, we're going to do this many times throughout the year. We're going to have some other guests on. We got to have Eddie P on again too, Phil. For sure. It's just a whole list of guys we're going to have on and have some fun with this season. But Joseph, we will have you back. It's so much fun having you on and getting all the stats. And thank you, everyone, for watching our inaugural episode of the season. A reminder, you can catch us every Monday on CBS Sports Golazo, MASL TV, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. For Phil Lavanco and Joseph Reina, I am Alex Bastyovansky. We will see you next week.